Victims' rights advocate Debra Tate is going to be here, not because there's Manson news that's out there. She's here because she's getting involved in yet another gruesome rape and murder. This is surrounding Gene Stevens. Well, Gene Stevens is the victim.
Yes.
Who was burglarized and found by her 11-year-old daughter. And the individual responsible for this went on to kill his own stepmother and was tried and convicted by a judge and a jury. Well, since we live in California, this is the type of person they want to put back into society. So the parole board consistently votes to let this person out.
Why?
Because it's California. And Jerry Brown vetoed the parole board's decision in the past. Jerry Brown, of course, is no longer governor of the state of California. Now it's Gavin Newsom, who's to the left of Jerry Brown.
Gavin Newsom, who hates the death penalty so much, even though Californians supported it and voted to keep it and expedite it, he put his own moratorium on it.
But I will say that Gavin Newsom overturned our plea to have Leslie Van Houten not released. So he agreed with Deborah and I.
That's right.
So I'm happy for that. And I do think he has common sense about him to keep people that are horrible like this behind bars. I mean, this 11-year-old girl will never be the same again.
But the Manson family might be different than other criminals who don't generate the same headlines because he wouldn't catch the same hell for it nationally. So it'll be interesting to see what he does when no one's looking. And this is a case where no one's looking. So Deborah's going to be here to give us a lay of the land and explain to us just exactly what the victims are doing to try to keep this guy in prison. Well, as we told you before, a new petition is asking that Governor Gavin Newsom not release a double murderer. His name is Greg Coates. He wants to be out on parole. In 1975, he gruesomely raped and murdered Gene Stevens while burglarizing her, only to have her 11-year-old daughter find her dead and bloodied.
Oh, she was raped, shot, beaten with a barbell, bludgeoned. And that daughter will never be the same.
4 months later, he raped and killed his own stepmother, and he burned her body to hide the evidence.
Get this. Knowing her son from school, this murderer named Greg Coates, actually attended her funeral and spent nights after the murder at her family's home, the woman that he murdered.
Coates was denied parole last year by then-Governor Jerry Brown, but he's now asking the new leadership to have a change of heart. This one could go either way, working very diligently to make sure that this animal stays behind bars is victims' rights advocate Debra Tate, who you can follow on Twitter at Debra_Tate9. Deb, good morning.
Good morning.
Deb, we haven't even scratched the surface. When he was 14, he raped his 18-year-old babysitter, and they didn't do anything about it at the time because, he's a youth. Say, if you're old enough to rape, you're old enough to be tried. This is a really disturbing story.
It's a very disturbing story, and he's an extremely disturbed man. He is, in my opinion, the trifecta of circumstances coming together that we all know cannot be rehabilitated, and that is a predatory killer, a sex offender, and an arsonist, because he also had a fire at Mrs. Stevens' home. He's thrown rocks through windshields and from overpasses. He's done many, many things to wreak havoc upon society that were not brought into the trial.
Now, whenever one of these guys would get let out or the parole board would vote to release them, it became a jump ball in Sacramento, and Jerry Brown had to be lobbied. And in your case, when you lobbied very, very hard to keep the Manson family killers behind bars, Jerry Brown was receptive, although he wouldn't always tip his hand early on in the process. So it was nail biting time. Has Governor Newsom, the new governor of the state of California, who is to the left of Jerry Brown on criminal justice issues, has he tipped his hand in any way, shape, or form to suggest which way he's going to go on this?
Not at all. Although Governor Newsom has been so far good to us as far as the Manson killers go, There are many, many, many other first-degree murders that he has let out, I'm told, by victim services. So this one makes me extremely nervous. As I said, this is the trifecta of mental circumstances that cannot be rehabilitated. So this man is extremely dangerous to the public.
Well, politicians will frequently look at things from the point of view of how much hell will I catch if I do this? And if you let a Manson family killer out, it's not just going to create headlines in Sacramento or in the state of California. It's going to create international headlines. And they all are politically savvy enough to understand that. However, if you let someone out that's not going to generate those types of headlines because you want to, then you may say to yourself, you know what? Why not? Let's just go ahead and do it. Does that have the victims of this guy's victims worried?
Absolutely, John. That's one reason why they have asked for my help, because I'm a little more savvy on that level. And I hope to God that this works. We really need your listeners to go to the change.org site and sign the petition, because the signatures and the amount of signatures and comments are how we let the politicians know how we feel. After all, they are beholden to us, technically. They're supposed to be our public servants, right?
Yeah.
So I have to pray and sweat bullets that Gavin Newsom will do the right thing.
I know. And you've said that he's let out others and they haven't gotten the headlines, and that makes me nervous. I mean, this is a guy who raped an 18-year-old when he was 14. This is a guy who killed his stepmother. This is a guy who bludgeoned a woman, raped her, set her house on fire. Her 11-year-old found her. He also tried to kill, I believe it was his wife at the time, by slitting her throat and beating her. But am I correct that she survived?
She did survive.
Oh my God, she's got to be freaking out.
And he also raped her repeatedly.
Oh, so this is frightening.
He is definitely meets all of the qualifications of a sex offender. But in 1975, and his age, the district attorneys fighting the case did not bring these elements in. And they should have, in my opinion. And as far as arson's concerned, they didn't have the strict rules about starting fires, putting houses on fire that they do now. They didn't understand that either in 1975.
All right. Deb, what's the change.org website again that people can find this website?
You go to change.org and look up his name, which is Greg
Coates.
Coates.
Greg Coates under change.org.
All right.
We'll do that, Deb. Thank you.
Debra Tate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Deb.
And don't forget to follow Deb on Twitter at Debra_Tate9.
I'm going to see Deb on Saturday because I'm presenting or I'm introducing the two doctors that saved my life. And they just happen to be, one of the doctors worked on Deb.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Dr. Leslie Memzik of Bedford Breast. So they have a big event. They asked, would you come on stage and introduce us since they are getting an award? And I said, you know what? I'd be honored.